walls and recited the verse of the Quran. So a wall will be put up between them with a gate therein. Inside will be mercy, and from the outside it will be torment. In Surah Al-Hadid, verse number 13. Now why is Ibn Taymiyyah expressing joy at this event? Why is Macaulay saying it was the best time of his life? Were they partying, drinking, getting it in? No. They're seeking knowledge, worshipping Allah. Their hearts were becoming soft. And subhanAllah, this is among the things which a disbeliever can't comprehend. They can't grasp it, they just can't get their head around. The fact that this Muslim saying, you know, prison is the best thing that ever happened to him and that he doesn't mind going back. They feel he's institutionalized. But, you know, when we look at it, they're the one that's institutionalized, really. And I'll tell you one thing, brothers and sisters. Most of the time, the Al-Kafirun are questioning you on something that you've done. It's not because they want to know the outcome. They don't care. They're just seeking to make you feel small and silly about what you're doing. I.e., a brother reverts to Islam, you know, and he had a off license, mainly selling alcohol, khamr. And then he throws all this khamr away. So this calf is looking at him, and with his limited scope of dunya, you know, he's thinking, what is wrong with this brother? So he goes up to him and he's saying, what? You have to throw it away? What? You can't sell it? You can't give it to me? You can't give it away? And he knows, he's just, you know, he's just trying to get at the brother for doing that. He's like, is this what your religion tells you to do? And then he goes away feeling that, you know, the Muslims are strange people. But in this case, alhamdulillah, because the Prophet ﷺ said Islam began as something strange and it shall return as being something strange, so give glad tidings to the strangers. And it's also like the story of Salman Farisi radiallahu anhu, where the Jew, you know, he tried to make him feel silly by questioning him. You know, he said, your Prophet teaches you everything, he probably teaches you how to go to the toilet. And Salman Farisi didn't shy away. You know, he said, well, yeah, he does. And he began to tell this Jew about the etiquette of istinja, about how we purify ourselves after we go to the toilet. And this Jew felt silly, because he was trying to make the Muslim feel silly. But, you know, in the end, he was the one that felt this way, because his cleanliness was nowhere near the Muslims, subhanAllah. Now, look at the way that Ibn Taymiyyah responded when he was being transported to the prison. How would we respond, you know, in this day and age in a sweatbox? Someone says to us, now's the time for sabr. We'd probably tell him to be quiet, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And if he wasn't inside that cage, we'd probably try to beat him up, because we're in a cage in these prison vans. But alhamdulillah, that's the time to rejoice and give thanks to Allah. Likewise, we find that if one's in prison, learning, sticking to his deen, then it will be a mixed reception from the prison officers. You'll find that some will respect you and treat you kind because of this since character that you've now adopted. And some will be suspicious and feel that you're strange. I mean, a newspaper article about the Muslim gangs in prison states, the Observer story linked above adds that white prisoners arriving at the jail are routinely warned about the Muslim gangs by staff. Subhanallah. So anyway, the fact of the matter is, a lot of them don't like Islam and don't like Muslims. At my time in one of the prisons I was in, I had a brother come up to me and express the fact that he feels to shave off his beard because a female guard doesn't like it. Throughout the time in this jail, on 2 occasions I can remember, first the male guard came to me, told me to lower my garments below my ankle, you know, musbil. I refused, but you know, before he got all authoritative, I just told him, you know, I'm not going to dispute with you. Come to my cell, I'll show you the dalil, I'll show you the proof. And he came, I showed him a few hadith, mashallah, he accepted, apologized, khalas. Now on another occasion, the same thing happened with a female guard. But you know, she weren't informed, she wasn't trying to hear it, she wasn't trying to hear the hadith, so I wasn't really going to speak with her. Some brothers surrounded her about this and it got pretty heated, but mashallah, you know, managed to calm the situation down. Now in another case, I was in a different prison. It was me and my brother and my Cody, and they was telling us that we can't give dawah, yani we can't wear our trousers above our ankles, and they had all sorts of problems, you know, everything we're trying to do to establish the sunnah, they're basically telling us that we can't do it. And the stories can go on and on. They'll tell you one thing on one occasion, and on another they'll tell you another thing, because me and my brother was in that same prison on a different occasion. I think it was a year before, and on that occasion they had no problem with giving dawah or wearing our trousers above their ankles, but 7 months later they seem to have a problem. So the point I'm trying to get at is, they'll try to get at you. They'll say things against Islam. I mean, most of these jails are out in the country. Some of these prison officers are ex-army personnel. So, you know, when the mu'min is striving to better his Islam, jihad al-nafs, you know, he's striving to better himself from within. And when you're tasting the sweetness of Iman, these things are just minute. You really don't care about it. As I said, do not fear the blame of the blamers in the way of Allah. And a man, sir, the Bani Abbas Khalifa of the Muslim Empire at Baghdad, whose capital was Baghdad, he offered Imam Abu Hanifa, the first of the 4 Imams, the post of Chief Qadi of the state. But Imam Abu Hanifa declined to accept it and chose to remain independent. In his reply to Al-Mansur, the Imam excused himself by saying that he didn't consider himself fit for the post. And the Mansur, you know, he had his own ideas for offering the post. You know, he lost his temper and he accused Abu Hanifa of lying. But Abu Hanifa said to him, well, you know, if I'm lying, then my statement's doubly correct. How can you appoint a liar to the exalted post of Chief Qadi? Incensed by this reply, Al-Mansur charged the Imam with contempt, had him arrested, locked in prison. But subhanAllah, even in prison, Abu Hanifa continued to teach those who were permitted to come to him. It was in prison that he was administered a dose of poison. Realizing that the end was near, he prostrated in sajda and died in that position. The news of his death spread throughout Baghdad, and it's said that the whole town came to pay their respect, and more than 50,000 people participated in the first janazah and continued to flock, and the janazah was offered 6 times in all. Ahmad ibn Hanbal, the last of the 4 Imams, rahimahullah, in the later years of his life, he was imprisoned and tortured by the rulers who went against him due to their un-Islamic beliefs and practices. They forced him to accept the beliefs of the Mu'tazila, which is a deviant sect of Islam, but he refused, and he was beaten to such a degree that his joints were dislocated, and he was kept in heavy chains in the prison in Baghdad, and he still refused to accept their beliefs. So Imam Shafi, he was called the devil, and he was imprisoned, you know, and he was taken from in captivity from Yemen to Baghdad in a condition of humiliation and degradation. So ponder over this, because when this musibah, when this calamity comes upon many of the brothers, they lose their deen, and the sisters. It knocks them for 6. What we're trying to show here is that this is the best time to fix up your deen, and that many of the early pious imams or ulama went through this, and they were treated way worse than us. This was dungeons. They were getting tortured. No TV, I mean, it wasn't even invented. No social, no canteen, none of the little pleasures that we take for granted, even in jail over here. They didn't even know when they were getting, or if they were getting released. and those that have been to jail